Rick, how you doing?
Hey, good morning, Keith. I'm fine. How about yourself?
I'm doing really well, man. At Mayo Clinic, there are a lot of topics that I'm asked to talk about when teams are struggling.
Hmm.
So I thought that would serve as a great topic for today, which is handling change.
Hmm.
So a lot of departments and groups will invite me to come in and give a talk or some training on helping physicians and our other healthcare staff uh, handle change. They say they're struggling with the changes that are happening. And so I'd love to get your thoughts on how you've, used your practice as an opportunity to help you deal with and handle change.
Oh, it's an ongoing process. I think for all of us to deal with something that's brand new, one of the things I think humans really like is routine. Even though we say we're bored or we're tired of it or whatever, I think there's something centering about having a practice and a routine that's predictable and makes you feel secure. And whenever that's shattered or affected in any way, I notice for myself, I feel a little bit at odds with myself. So over the years, what I've realized is it's really not about the changes that are external. It's about how I react to them, right? So when I feel like I'm being disrespected, or I feel that I've been ignored, or I feel that I'm unloved, or whatever those things are that the change brings, whatever those emotions are, it helps me to remember that those things are external and that I need to return to myself. And what do I mean by that? Okay, so returning to self is basically just an exercise of going inward instead of focusing on all the externals and all that change and all that upset. I try to reestablish a connection with my true self. And by that, I mean, I guess it's the divine force, I would call it, that flows through every human being. And I try to connect with that. That's a centering, anchoring kind of feeling when I can get to that point. And then I guess the second thing that I try to do is when I am recognizing I'm a little bit upset about change, I need to return to myself. I need to connect with something bigger than myself. Then the next step seems to be always a connection with stillness. With stillness. Now, this is an odd thing for people because we often try to distract ourselves, and that usually involves a lot of activity or mind-altering substances, alcohol, for example, or marijuana, or whatever. But we're always trying, I think, to stimulate or to meet those external circumstances with this kind of frenetic approach that distracts us and takes our minds off of the change. But for me, I think the success that I've had in centering myself, and it comes from wanting to become comfortable with stillness, just the opposite of activity. And I'm talking now, when I say stillness, I'm talking about just the simple act of doing nothing, just doing nothing.
That seems so good.
And that helps me break from my monkey mind, which is completely out of control. Usually, when I'm in a stressful situation where I'm thinking about what all the changes that I don't like. Okay, so how do I become comfortable with stillness? Okay, I guess this is everybody's different, but over the years, this is what's worked for me. I first started out by listening to guided meditations. I didn't know how to do meditation myself, so I listened to a little bit of guided meditation on the internet, and it was really helpful. Some things didn't work, some things did, but the great thing about the meditation was it relaxed me. It gave me a comfort with stillness that I never had before. And then I think the main lesson from the stillness was if you focus on breath in and out, in and out. There's a kind of automatic peace that comes to you, and that does a great deal for me to get away from the change that I'm worried about. A couple of other things, and then I'll stop talking here. But I've said many times on this show that walking in nature is profound.
Yeah.
and you've got to leave your cell phone in the car. You've got to leave anything that's a distraction from nature in the car. Don't wear earbuds. Don't wear, I don't care what kind of music you're into. It's not going to help you. You're missing the point, or you're missing a full experience. Spend time in nature without any electronic devices, period. Okay. And I guess the last thing is that I really truly believe in journaling. I like to write anyway, but I use journaling to work out the kinks in my life, and often I'll destroy the journals because I let everything come out of me, what I'm thinking about, all of the horrible thoughts that I have about myself or other people or a situation that are completely off balance. But the very act of writing them down, accounting for what's troubling me, is very, very important to me over the years. So I guess that's how I would deal with change.
Man, Rick, I love every bit of what you just shared. Um, you know, I can't really add a whole lot to what you just shared. It was so profound and so good, with stilling the mind and quieting it, by connecting, just being still. And it's something that is very, very challenging, to do. And, the first time that I was introduced to meditation, it was because I saw someone who was peaceful during a period in which I didn't understand how you could be peaceful. Like it was so foreign to me.
Mhm.
I was at the gym working out with the guy in the market, and I was in financial planning, not really aware of how attached I was to my job to the extent that I identified with it. I didn't just think it was what I did. I thought it was who I was, and it was unconscious. And the market had dropped over 500 points that day. We're in a gym, and we were like, "Hey, how are you doing?" I'm coming in, and I'm all, you know, not rushed, but definitely preoccupied with what just happened in the market. And he just says, "How you doing?" I said, "How do you think I'm doing?" Like the market just fell 500 points. Like, how do you think I'm doing? He just said, that's interesting. So he said. It wasn't like he jumped on the bandwagon and was like, oh, this and that, and this is awful, and I can't believe it. He didn't do any of that. He was just so aware. Markets go up, markets go down. Life is constant and change. Like he didn't say all that, but that was what I think about now as I reflect on that moment over 30 years ago. And one day I was so like taken aback by how he showed up in that moment that I started to become more aware of how he was always that way, like always peaceful, no matter what was going on. I remember, he was African American too, and I remember when with the assault on Rodney King,
Mm.
and it was all over the news, and I'm affected by it, emotional about it. And he was the same. Didn't matter what happened, it was the same. And it wasn't that he didn't care. Oh, he cared more than anybody because he had, control of his over his self, his monkey mind. And so I started to ask him, I said, how did you get this way?
Mhm.
And he just said, I practice, like I do meditation. And I was like, I was blown away by it.
Yeah.
And I went to his house and he set me up in a room because I told him I wanted to learn. He said, just go into this, this is where I do it. You can go into the room and no, just be aware. Like just go in there. I was like, how long should I go in there? It's like, just go in there and just clear your mind. Rick, I was in and out of there in 2 minutes. Mine wouldn't let me get any rest. I mean, it was all over the place about what I'm going to eat. What is this? Did I pick up my dry cleaning? Like it was Rick. It was like, oh my goodness. And I was just like, this doesn't work for me. Well, of course it doesn't. Like that thing's been running your whole life. So, one attempt at it is not going to calm it. And so at the core of it is what you said. I was uncomfortable being still. I had no leverage over my mind, and I resisted change. I couldn't handle change. So I tell people, just like you, is to just practice just being aware of your thoughts. You don't have to do anything with them, just be aware.
Mm.
And nature is such a great place to root yourself, and you taught me that. It's just, it really is. It really is. So Rick, I thank you. And I'm going to share what you share with me with my colleagues who have a challenge handling change, on how to do that, but thank you. I feel calmer just listening to you. So thank you.
Oh, gee, well, thank you, Keith. Those are very kind words. I appreciate it. And the main thing I think for all of us is just to remember that we're all human and that it's a practice. You never get to the point where, okay, I've done it now. I've got my degree, so to speak, and I can put it on autopilot. No, it doesn't work that way. It just has to be a practice that's ingratiated in everything that you do. And if you truly want inner peace, these are the ways I think that you can take those steps to get toward it.
I love it, Rick. Thank you so much. I love you.
I love you, Keith. Thanks for including me today.
Thank you.